There's three main phases to a chess game: the opening, the middle game, and the end game. Of course, if you don't make it out of the opening, you may never get to the other two parts, so in some ways, it's the most important. What you're looking at here on the board is a typical end of the opening. Why do I say that? Well, because in the opening, you're trying to control the center, get your knights and bishops out, castle, and both sides have done a pretty good job here. Next up would come the middle game phase, where the queens and rooks get in the game and both sides start a plan. There's no exact definition, though, of when the opening ends and the middle game begins, but if you wanted to give a numerical estimate, I would say in the first 10 moves or so, that's the opening. Some people say when the queens leave the board, then the middle game or the end game starts, so it's all kind of fuzzy, but you definitely should focus on those three concepts: control the center, develop your pieces, and castle. Lots of people, when they're first learning how to play chess, they want to learn lots of openings because they have exciting names like the pterodactyl, the orangutan, the king's gambit. However, to be honest with you, if you learn one or two main openings as white and as black, that's generally good enough. Personally, I really only played one or two things as each color until I reached the rating of 2000. Going back to the starting position, in case you're curious, this is what I played growing up. After e4, e5, I would always play the Scotch gambit, which is knight f3, knight c6, and the move d4. If the pawn takes, I don't take back, and I play bishop c4. Now, of course, you do have to know what to do in case your opponent does not play e5. So I had one system in case of the French defense. I had another system in case of the Sicilian defense, and so forth. Turning the board around as black, against e4, I would generally play double king pawn, although later I switched and instead of playing e5, I played the move g6, which is a little more complicated, but you are able to branch out as you get a little bit higher rated. And against the move d4, I would always play the king's Indian defense, which begins with the move knight to f6. As you can see, even a limited amount of opening knowledge can get you pretty high in the game of chess, but you definitely have to study the opening a little bit, otherwise you're not going to make it to those next two phases of the chess game.